Okay, so let's talk about a z-score. So let's say that you know that everything is normally distributed. It's going to be in that standard bell curve, and what we want to know is okay. Well, what if I want to know how far the a 64 is from that bell curve? Okay, well, the question here is well, what's the z-score is really what you're going to be asking. It's the z-score shows how many standard deviations, or how far it is, a value lies from the mean. Okay, it shows how many standard deviations a value lies from the mean. All right, and so that's what we're going to be looking for here when we talk about a z-score. Now, a z-score has a formula, and here it is. Okay, x is the value that you're looking for. Okay, this little symbol, even though that's not the symbol they use on the calculator for mean, is mean. Okay, it is the average of the values. It's that middle number. And then this, of course, is still the standard deviation. Okay, and all those values we can find either given to you, or if we were to put it in our calculator, we'd be able to find those examples. So, so here's what we have. The grades on a statistics midterm are normally distributed. Okay, that's important, with an average of 81 and a standard deviation of 5. Okay, and we want to know what are the z-scores for each of the following. So how many standard deviations is 65 from that average of 81? So we're going to use that formula. Z is equal to, and we're going to start with the value 65 minus 81, which is the average, divided by the standard deviation of 5. And so we simplify that. We do 65 minus 81, and we get a negative 16 divided by 5. And we end up with a negative 3.2. Okay, so making a 65 on that test is, and let's just look at the data because this is basically the same data that we had here below. A 65 is way down here. So it is 1, 2, 3, and then some deviations away from the middle. And that's what we're looking for here. It is negative 3.2 deviations away from that average number. Okay. Now, 83 is a different story. We'll do z is equal to 83, the value, minus the average of 81 divided by 5. That's 2 divided by 5, which is 0.4. Okay, so if we look at our value here, 81 is here, the average. Here's the first standard deviation, 86. We're not even there. Okay, we're at an 83. So we're 0.4 standard deviations away from the average value. Okay, so this is going to be a 0.4 z-score. Now this is a z-score of a 100. All right, we're looking for 100. So somebody made a 100 on the test. How far were they from the average? What was that standard deviation? So we're going to subtract the 81 and divide by 5. And so when you do 100 minus 81, you get 19. Divide that by 5, and you get 3.8. Okay, so 65, remember, was negative 3.2 standard deviations away from the average. 100 is 3.8, so it's actually further away from the average than this 65 was. And so if you look again at our graph here, 100 is going to be way out here, which is 1, 2, 3, and then some standard deviations away from the average of 81. Okay, and so that's what a z-score is, and that's what you're looking for here. Okay, now if we look at example number 2, we don't have all of the information that we were just given. We're going to have to find some of it. So we have a set of data. This is the height in inches of the basketball team members. And so what we need to do is input this information into our calculator. So we're going to go to Stat and Edit. We're going to clear out anything that we have in there. and we're going to input this data. So we have 76, 66, whoops, I'm sorry, 76, 66, let's see, let me pull my calculator down just a little bit, 67, 69, 73, 74, 72, 71, 75, 69, 72, 70, 78, 70, 71, and 73 are the information that we have. Okay, now let's go ahead and calculate. So we go back to stat, calculate, and the one variable statistics. Okay, now information that we need to find a z-score. Remember that we need to find the mean, okay, or it's written as a weird little U symbol, whichever one you want to use. But the average here is 71.625. So we're going to call it 72, okay, just to keep it nice and even. And then you're also going to need a standard deviation. And so if we scroll right here to standard deviation, it's 3.10, so we're going to call that 3, okay? So we're going to use 72 for our standard deviation, and so for our mean, and we'll use 3 for our standard deviation. Okay, so we found our information. Okay, and now we're going to plug it in to find our data. All right, so we're going to have a z-score. We're going to be looking at 66 is the value, okay, remember the formula, minus the average, which is 72, divided by 3. And so in your calculator, be very careful when you type this into your calculator, okay? You want to put that top section in parentheses. So 66 minus 72 in parentheses divided by 3, and we get -2. So that is 2 standard deviations to the left away from the average. Okay? Then we look at B, 73. So 73 is the value minus the average of 72 over 3 is going to be simplified. So we're going to go ahead and do 73 minus 72 divided by 3, and we get 1/3 basically. And so we're going to just round that to 0.3. It's 0.3 deviations away from the average. And then the last one we're going to do the z-score is average of, or the value is 80, average is 72. We're going to divide that by the deviation of 3. And so we do 80 minus 72 divided by 3 is almost 3 deviations away, so 2.7 deviations away from the original. It's going to be in that third section out there of your bell curve, okay? And so this is just kind of how to find that information. If we look down examples 3 and 4, number 3 is going to be very similar to that, so you're going to type in all that information and work through that. Now, example 4 is going to be a little bit different, and you're going to have to think through this, and it's a little bit of a challenge problem, so I want you to try it on your own. And then if you have any questions, you can talk to me about it, and I'll be happy to answer those questions for you, okay? Just keep in mind they're giving you the average was 85, and the deviation was 4, and they're giving you the z-score. So you're going to have to work backwards here, okay? So they're giving you the z-score, so you're going to plug that value in. They are not giving you the value, so this is what you're going to be looking for. They're giving you the average, okay? And they're also giving you the standard deviation. So you're going to be plugging these 3 values in and solving for x this time, okay, rather than solving for z. So you're going to kind of be working backwards a little bit and doing a little bit of that literal equation that we did last semester. So keep that in mind, all right? Work through those. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help.